By the end of this lecture, you will be able to describe, plan, and format of report, describe components of formal reports, and the arrangements of their parts. Identify the elements of style suitable for effective report writing. A report is a written presentation of factual information based on an investigation or research. Reports form the basis for solving problems or making decisions, often in the subjects of business and the sciences. The length of reports varies depending upon the requirement of the report and the purpose of the report. There are short memorandum reports. Planning of report. Identify the reader. Report writer must know who is the audience who is going to read his report. Determine purpose. What is the purpose in writing this document? Formulate specific questions. Conduct research to answer the questions. Draw valid conclusions for analytical or recommendation reports. Decide on recommendations for recommendations. Write the report. In short, report writer must know his audience and the task he is going to perform, where, when, and how he is going to perform this task, and what is his basic responsibility in writing a report. Format of report. A report has several parts which enable the writer to lay out all the complex information in an easy form. All reports do not require all the parts, but long reports need to include all of them. The part from the title to the signature are essential and must be included in reports. Although there is no set report writing format, however, there are general sections that should be included. Title page, introduction, method of investigation, findings, conclusion, and recommendation, references. Unlike essays, reports are written in sections with headings and subheadings, which are usually numbered. There are numerous possible formats available for writing a report, and it mostly depends on the context of the topic and requirement of the information needed in. Components of report. Components of report are divided into 3 sections. Part 1. Preliminary information. Part 2. Body of the report. Part 3. End matter of the report. Components of report. A report must have letter of transmittal, title page, table of contents, abstract or executive summary, introduction, findings and or discussion, conclusions, recommendations, references. In all 9 components, 4 of them, they are included in preliminary section. Letter of transmittal, title page, table of contents, abstract or executive summary. Whereas the body of the report includes introduction, findings and or discussion, conclusions, recommendations. So far as the matter is concerned, it includes references, bibliography and appendices. Preliminary section. The preliminary section of a formal report presents the following elements in the order below: letter of transmittal, title page, table of contents, summary. Letter of transmittal. It supplies readers with an explanation of why you have written this report. Use cover memorandum if your report is for internal distribution. Use letter of transmittal if your report is for external distribution. They identify the subject of the report and usually state the reason for the report. Letter of transmittal is the part of the formal report. It is not included in the informal report normally. Title page. Title page. Title page can be arranged in a number of ways, but basic elements must be there. These are the full title of report, the name of the writer's company, the person or company receiving the report, the date of report. Title of the page should be descriptive enough to immediately provide the reader with a concrete idea of the subject. Table of contents. You can find the table of the contents after the title page. It is a direct reflection of your outline. It contains section of the report, headings, subheadings, page numbers. Tables and figures are also the part of the contents of the report, but they are listed separately. Table of contents is useful because it enables the reader to locate information quickly, comprehend the scope of your report, quickly grasp the report's organization. The next component in preliminary section is abstract or executive summary. Second most crucial section in a formal report is abstract or a summary. Its purpose is to provide readers with a quick review of the major points of your report. Provide readers with a basic understanding of your report without reading it entirely. Give readers a review of your entire report. It must be brief and thorough. free of unnecessary details. Summary outlines the report's problem, purpose, investigative procedure, findings, the conclusions and recommendations, mainly written in past and prepared last. All of these things are briefly presented in a summary of report. Body of report. Body of report contains all the information involved in the investigation, provides solution of the problem your report addresses, contains the data, findings, and results of your investigations and tests, includes conclusions and recommendations. The first component of body of the report is introduction. Introduction covers 4 sections: purpose, background, method of investigation, scope. Purpose. Purpose states the purpose of the report, with report being prepared, includes what the report will require. Here are some examples within section in the report. The purpose of this report is to investigate the reasons behind the rise in computer gaming addiction among teenagers. The report will also recommend preventive measures for computer gaming addiction. Example 2. This report looks into the factors influencing students' behavior in lecture theatres and suggests ways to promote positive learning behavior among students. Example 3. This report studies the cause of unhealthy eating among teenagers and recommends ways to promote more healthy eating habits. These are 3 examples which may guide you how to write this section in the body of the report. The second component in introduction section is background. Background provides information or situation that gave this investigation. It may refer to data, for example, newspaper report, data that was discovered by someone else. Here is an example for writing background in introduction section. A recent study on game technology shows that nearly 75% of teenagers in Singapore play computer games regularly, and the majority show science fiction. The rise in gaming among teenagers is concern. The Ministry of Development
would like to find out the reasons behind this trend. The report was commissioned by the Director of Corporate Communications, Miss Julie Sim, on 31st May 2010. Third component in introduction section is method of investigation. Method of investigation states how investigation was carried out. For example, questionnaires issued to how many people for how long. What was the population? What was the sample? What type of instruments were used for getting the information or collecting the data? This is primary data that is discovered by you, the of the report. May include references to data. Method of investigation gives the way to the report writer to the findings and conclusions. Here is an example for writing method of investigation in introduction section. Questionnaires were issued to 100 teenagers from 25 educational institutions on 25 June 2010. 3 teenagers who were former addicts were also interviewed to get more in-depth views. References were also made to books and newspaper articles. This example shows instrument for collecting data, means questionnaire, participants involved in the study, teenagers, and it also refer to the secondary data, for example, books and newspaper articles. The fourth component in introduction section is scope. The scope of a report shows what it includes and excludes. It outlines the aims and limitations of the report. Scope states the areas of investigation, for example, reasons, consequences, etc. What information you need in order to meet your purpose. First scope item is respondent's profile. There should be at least 3 other scope items. Here is an example for writing this section in introduction section. Example: besides respondent's profile, this report looks into 4 possible reasons for the rise in gaming addiction among teenagers: boredom, stress,
societal influence, and addictive game features. Findings and or discussion. Findings. What was found during the research or investigation based on the data collected through instrument gives the facts only, no interpretation by the writer of the report. Tables, graphs, or diagram can be used for presenting the facts and the information collected must be relevant to the issues and the problems identified in the terms of reference or introduction. Arranged in a logical order with headings and subheadings. All the parts of the findings or the points should be arranged logically. They should be connected to each other. Discussion. You may also be required to analyze, interpret, and evaluate the findings. The discussion draws together different parts of the findings and may refer to the findings of the other studies and or theories. Discussion section discusses the findings of the report as well as compares the findings of this report with the findings of the other studies also, and finds of the similarities and differences between them. Conclusions. Conclusions are drawn on the basis of the findings of the report. They are brief statements of the key findings of the report. Full explanation is given in the findings and or discussion. Statements in the conclusion must be arranged in a way that the major conclusions should come first, should relate directly to the objectives set out in the terms of reference or introduction, follow logically from the facts in the findings and or discussion, must be complete enough for recommendations to be made from them. Recommendations. The opinions of the writer of the report about possible changes or solutions to the problems, including who should take action, what should be done, when and how it should be done. Recommendations are also based on the findings of the report, and on the basis of the conclusions and the findings, it is recommended that what action should be taken and what should not be taken. The last section of the report is the end matter of report. It is reserved for material that may not be directly related to your report but useful. It may include list of symbols, footnotes, bibliographies, etc. It should be introduced by a page titled Reference. It is not the part of the word count. Reference indicates sources you have used in your report. It is a list of the sources that are used in and referred to in the report. For writing the references in the report, use APA referencing style. Bibliography, not always required. It is neither an essential part of the formal report and nor it is the essential component of informal report. But sometimes it is included in formal report. It lists any sources that were read for the research but were not cited in the report. Bibliography is also not included in the word count. You must not confuse between the references and the bibliography. Both are the lists of the sources, but in case of references, you indicate the sources you have used in your report and you have cited there. But bibliography is a list of sources that you have read but you have not cited in the report. Appendices, not always required. An appendix contains supplementary material that is not an essential part of a text itself, but which may be helpful in providing a more comprehensive understanding of the research problem. They provide additional relevant information and include interview questions, surveys, glossary, etc. Summary of components of report. This slide gives you a brief overview of all the components we have discussed in the previous slides. Components of report: letter of transmittal, title page, table of contents, executive summary, introduction, findings, conclusions, recommendations, bibliography, references, appendices. This slide will help you to revise or to recall what you have read in the previous slides. You may know what is included in the letter of transmittal. Letter of transmittal includes subject and reason of report. Title page, as you know, at this stage, title, author's name, date of submission. Table of contents, list of sections, subsection, appendices, etc. Executive summary, summary of entire report. Introduction, purpose, background, methods of investigation, scope. Findings includes analysis of facts, conclusions, deductions based on recommendations,
suggestions and advice based on conclusions. The list of reference materials, for example, other supporting data which you have used in your research, in collecting the information, in collecting the data, but which you may not include in the body of the report. That is where it is added at the end of the report
just to help the reader to understand. Report style. Once you are done with your report, check for stylistic weakness. Ensure that it is accurate, complete, uncluttered, impartial, interesting. Accurate. Report must contain factually correct information. Report writer must double check facts and references in addition to checking for typos, means typical errors. Complete. Report should complete in all ways. It should include all information necessary for readers to understand the situation, problem, etc. It should support all key assertions using illustrations, explanations, and facts. If illustrations and explanations are required for the sake of understanding of the reader, they should be included in the report. Needs of the audience must be considered. Must be an imaginative report, i.e., putting yourself in the place of your reader. It is the responsibility of the report writer to keep in mind the audience, the need of the audience, and the level of the audience, as the report written for the experts is different from the report written for laymen. Uncluttering. Readers' need must be considered if additional information, clarification, and verification are necessary. These can be included if the reader can understand with the help of these things, and they are necessary to give proper information or help to the reader. Too much information may decrease your reader's interest. Report must be to the point. Unnecessary details should not be there, and it should be avoided. Check for ideas that are not absolutely necessary. Report should cover all the important information and details. Unnecessary details and information should be avoided. Impartiality. Reports require impartiality and objectivity. Logically determine a decision or an outcome. Present all sides of the question, even if they counter to your own interpretation of data. Base all interpretations and conclusions on the solid facts presented in the body of your report. Interest and enthusiasm. Emphasize and highlight the importance and usefulness of your report. Be concrete and deliberate in describing the benefits of your report. Assume a neutral position regarding the facts and data you collect. Avoid words that tend to be emotional or prejudicial
towards the facts. Use facts and figures instead of non-specific words. Means there should be sufficient evidence for the factual information presented in report. God bless you.